before we start keep talking about stuff.
All right, so this is episode 26, our weekly recap of the weekend in the NFL. Some interesting games. Eagles were on a bye, so no Eagles news to really talk about, but they're still in first place because the Cowboys continue to lose. Although they gave a decent effort against the Steelers, I'll give them that.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on that game?
I was having a heart attack by halftime.
Can you imagine if the Cowboys had won the game, how many people would have lost so much money on that bet?
Oh, yeah. But I was like, well, my main argument was, one, Roethlisberger got hurt, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. Of all weeks to get hurt, you're not getting hurt to the Cowboys. Because there's just like I've already understood that the Eagles aren't going to win many games this year. They can win the division, but they're not going to win many games.
Yeah.
So with the Cowboys, you just need them to do slightly worse than the Eagles are for this year, for the division.
Agreed.
And the Steelers game was not one that I had ever crossed my mind of penciling a W for the Cowboys. That was an L that I was guaranteeing for the Cowboys. So I couldn't afford, or the Eagles couldn't afford, the Cowboys getting a game that they had no right even being in.
Yeah.
Luckily they did come back. And Ben Roethlisberger got hurt, or got healthy, came in, and they ended up winning the game. Very ugly. That Steelers defense, man. I mean, I still think it's the best in the league, but you could pass on them pretty well. Like, I've seen a couple teams pass on them and be okay. Like, they're not as fearsome in the passing game as you'd like to see on a consistent basis.
I think Minka has actually started playing better. Like, he's getting more turnovers, which is good for them. But yeah, I mean, it's not like Joe Hayden is an all-pro corner like he used to be.
Yeah, the corners are really lacking.
I didn't expect their pass defense to be their strength, but
Garrett Gilbert. I mean, you say you don't expect the passing defense to be their strength, but they have a top 5 safety and they have a top 5 edge rusher. Like, those are usually two very important pieces of a good passing defense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, listen, I don't really have much faith in the Cowboys. The team looked a lot different with Gilbert over DiNucci. DiNucci is just not an NFL quarterback. Like, I think that's what we really took from the last 2 weeks is DiNucci's not an NFL quarterback.
Oh, he wasn't even start. He didn't even play. It was the
he looked so bad against the Eagles that they had to put Gilbert in. It was just like so clear this guy is just not an NFL quarterback. But I mean, the offense still has firepower with the Cowboys. The offense line's pretty brutal, but if you're a quarterback that's capable, that can make the pass, because Cooper and CeeDee Lamb made some plays this past week, and they're very good. You just need to give them the ball.
Yeah, I agree. Another thing I noticed, so it was funny. I was doing our records from last week in our game picks. I got to Cardinals and Dolphins, and I remember we were recording this, and I was having a hard time. I was taking forever to pick, and you guys were like, "Oh, come on, it's an easy pick." And I was like, "Yeah, but the Dolphins have been playing really well. Like, I kind of want to pick them." And then we all picked the Cardinals, and lo and behold, Tua time, baby. He was what was it, 20 for 28. 248 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. And he scrambles really well. So we got this trio now with Burrow, Herbert, and Tua that all are looking like they were worth their picks. So
I agree with you. And listen, I mean, you were right about the Dolphins over the Cardinals this week, but I was ultimately right about bringing in Tua, because this is exactly what I was saying was going to happen. He was going to get the young guys energized and breathe new life into the veterans, even though there's not that many on that team. But it's a change of guard. It's excitement. And you saw what Herbert was doing. I don't know why they took this long, because look at them now. They're 5-3. Well, the Bills got the division right now, but I would say they're very firmly in a wild card spot, or at least contending for it.
4 straight wins.
Yeah. In an AFC that's not that strong. This is kind of what I've been saying. This is, just breathes new life in your team when you put in a superstar like that. And I know he's a rookie, but Tua is a superstar. We all know Tua is. We've been saying he was going to be the first overall pick since he was a freshman.
Yeah.
The Dolphins literally tanked an entire season to get him. It worked out perfectly. They didn't have to be awful, and they still got him. But, it's good to see. It's good to see the team building around like a young quarterback and the excitement. One thing I will say about that game, and I'll mention it now because he didn't make the stud list, unfortunately, because he lost. But he would have easily been a stud by far. He led his team not only in passing, which, of course, but he also led his team in running. He had 106 rushing yards, a rushing touchdown. That goes to 3 touchdowns through the air, 283 there, and 21 out of 26. The man only missed 5 passes. Kyler Murray had a hell of a game. He balled.
Yeah.
Christian Kirk was a big benefactor of that, and he sat on my bench in my fantasy team, which was wonderful.
Kylie got me 40 points, and I still lost, so go figure.
I sat Curtis Samuel and Christian Kirk, and they outscored all my wide receivers that I started, and I still won somehow.
Must be nice.
I know, it's a good life. But, yeah, no, I liked that game a lot. It was a game I watched. I was actually surprised because that Chargers game and the Dolphins game were on at the same time during the Cowboys game, and I was like, turning back and forth, obviously way too invested in the Cowboys game than I ever thought because I was hoping it'd be a blowout by half. But both games were very entertaining. I enjoyed both of them a lot. Good to see the young quarterbacks out there.
Yeah, I was surprised by Miami, like I said, this is why we already did our midseason awards, but this is why we were considering Flores because I just think he's
a very good coach.
They're like 2 years ahead of where their rebuild is supposed to be.
Absolutely. Well, like I said with the tank, they tried to tank last year for Tua, and Flores just coached them too well to whatever they got 4 wins or whatever, but with a roster that didn't deserve to win 1.
Yeah.
But no, he's a very good coach. I like Flores a lot. He seems to be an actual Patriot coordinator that's going to go on to be a successful head coach.
Speaking about the thrashing that the Saints put on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I do recall when we did our cornerback rankings, I pointed out how Marshawn Lattimore has just dominated Mike Evans. And I'm pretty sure Mike Evans, he had a couple catches in the game, for 60 yards or something, but they weren't when he was lined up against Lattimore. Lattimore held him to 2 targets, 0 catches, 0 yards. Once again, thwarting your favorite wide receiver.
Listen, he's not my favorite wide receiver. He's definitely a good wide receiver. But, yeah, I know because, you remember week 1, he only had 1 reception for 2 yards. So, yeah, I definitely – he doesn't pay rent in Mike Evans' head. That was the other thing I was disappointed in. Like I said on week 1 when we did this, was the Marshawn Lattimore, Mike Evans player matchup is something I never want to miss. There's just always fireworks every time. And, I would love to have been a fly on the helmet of Marshawn Lattimore. Could you imagine the amount of trash he was talking to Mike Evans?
Uh-huh.
In a game like that where those two just generally hate each other. I can't name 2 players in the NFL that actually – well, maybe Golden Tate, Jalen Ramsey, but actually hate each other. Do not enjoy each other's presence. I mean, I'll get to it later, but you can kill Mike Evans if you want and say how great Marshawn Lattimore is there. But Bruce Arians did go out and rip his quarterback about how Mike Evans was open many times throughout the game and just didn't get the ball. But,
that's Arians. He's going to do that.
Yeah, that's fair. But, he was his head coach defending him, saying he was open. Kind of believe it. But, no, listen, there's not much you could say about the Bucs to be positive. I won't. Antonio Brown didn't do anything ridiculously dumb, and he looked like he still got it. So I guess that's something you can be proud of.
I guess.
But yeah, you just got shellacked by your division rival who have now beaten you twice this year. So you better start paying attention to the wild card because there's no way you're getting this division back. Now that Michael Thomas is healthy and they've already beaten you twice, I just don't see that one happening.
That was the key for the Saints. Kamara wasn't able to do it all, and Drew Brees wasn't playing up to his level. So now that they're getting healthy, and they have Quan Alexander now with Demario Davis, and the defense is starting to play better. They're looking like they're going to be back in the control of that division.
I fully expect them to. I would say they're my favorite in the NFC still. Obviously we picked them as our Super Bowl champs preseason. It's just you watch them and what they're missing is what's on their bench. They have what they're missing. And it was so crucial. We both voted for Kamara for Offensive Player of the Year, and he's been amazing. But Brees has clearly stepped back. This is no longer Brees' offense. It's Kamara's and Thomas. And it's hard to be the only, offensive juggernaut on your team. I will say going off that, though, who impressed me a lot? It's just amazing to see how versatile Taysom Hill is. He does everything. He catches balls, he throws balls, he runs, he blocks. He looked great in that game.
He's an athlete.
He's so good. I'm just seeing him. It's just amazing. How versatile he is, how much of a weapon he is.
Yeah.
It's really impressive.
Yeah. A couple other things real quick. I mean, we talked about briefly, you and I, about how Bills, when they played, I mean, they didn't really run the ball great against Seattle, but when they played to their potential and Josh Allen's cooking and that defense is getting turnovers, like they showed what they can do against arguably one of the best teams in the league in the Seattle. So I think that was really good showing for them and a good confidence builder to beat a top team like that too.
I thought the defense, I mean, we've been saying for a couple weeks now that the defense has been a complete disappointment. I thought that was going to be their strong going into the season. Played really well against a great defense. That score wasn't that close. Like they were down 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. And then the Seahawks ended up putting up 2 garbage time touchdowns to make it look closer. But that defense held them, pretty well. They forced a ton of turnovers. That was the best game I've seen from them by far, and it was against an elite offense. They scored the Seahawks 10 points in the first half. They had a 24-10 lead at the first half. Like that's an impressive showing. No one's been able to slow down the Seahawks, and they came out and did it right away. I was very impressed with that. Josh Allen looked great. The balls he was putting out there, that first touchdown, that was sexy. That was a nice ball. That was a sexy.
Yeah. MVP Josh showed up.
I know. I was very impressed with him. Extremely impressed. The defense, the whole team really impressed me. This was the game that I think the Bills needed to get respect to get to that next level.
Yeah.
They want to be talked about with the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Chiefs. This was the game they had to have.
I agree. And I think it might have been last week or the week before, but I was saying how as good as Russ is and as great as that offense is, like I said, there was going to be a game or two where their defense just cannot keep up, and the case in point was this game where that defense was just getting torched.
What was surprising too was that Jamal Adams came back, and then you had Carlos Dunlap playing too.
But I mean, they from what I saw, they had Adams like blitzing half the time, and so
that's what I mean.
Nobody was back there in coverage.
Well, listen, I mean, Adams is going to make everything better, but he is
True.
an impact player. He looked good the first couple weeks before he got hurt, and he was helping that defense a lot.
For sure.
He's versatile. I mean, the blitzing thing he's been doing. He had, I think, 8 sacks last year when we talked about number 1 safeties. Like he's so good at it. Maybe they have to change the scheme around a little bit to put him back in coverage more. I think his strength is in the box and blitzing them. I think you let him go at what he's best at, but maybe they will have to switch things around and just keep him back there just to prevent this. Because man, everyone and their grandmother is scoring against this defense. They can't stop anyone.
Yeah, I agree. Any final thoughts on just games in general before we move into the studs and duds? Because there's one player that I was going to talk about, but I'm assuming he's on your studs list. So
fair enough. We'll see. There's a good chance. Let me double check. I talked about the Ravens. Yeah, that passing thing is still terrifying me. If I'd be really worried if I was a Ravens fan.
Yeah, I think they're trying to force him to improve. So they're trying to make him become a better quarterback by making him pass more, but it's just like not working for him right now. We'll see what happens.
Chargers, another tough loss. They're really getting to that Falcons level.
I saw another meme and they were like, Chargers somehow lost this game, and it showed like the counted score. So they were up by 6 points with 0 time left. And then they reversed the call, obviously. But
yeah,
I think that was the right call, though. He didn't have control when he came.
It's still tough. They're really losing. I mean, you're really losing some bad games. They're getting pretty tough for them.
I mean, it's been like this for like years now, though. The Chargers have always been that losing the last second team.
I agree. Listen, I really don't have much faith in Anthony Lynn. I've never really thought he's a good coach. He's never struck me as someone I've been like, wow, what a coach. Like I don't know what it is. Like he got lucky, to be honest with you. How long do you think Tyrod Taylor would have started if they didn't puncture his lung? And like, honestly, Anthony Lynn is like, he was so vocal about Tyrod Taylor's our guy. And that was the plan and all this. And I believe him. Maybe one of the doctors was like, well, our head coach is an idiot. Let me do what we should have done 2 weeks ago and just pop a poll real fast, and we'll see what happens. But
jeez,
I'd be interested to see this. He's a job that I'm interested to see how it plays out in the offseason. Depending on how the season ends, the Chargers will know they have a franchise quarterback in Herbert.
Yeah, for sure.
That offensive line sucks. Their free agent pickups have been pretty bad. I'd get rid of the GM. I'd get rid of Lynn and GM and just start anew. Bring in a new front office, new coach, and be like, here's a franchise quarterback. I don't think it'd be very hard to get a legit top-notch coach or GM when you have the franchise quarterback and some pieces to build around.
Yeah.
But that's a team that I'm interested in seeing how it plays off in the offseason because you got the quarterback. I just don't see it with the front office or the coach with some of the decisions and and these losses that they're taking. They've made the last couple.
I see your point, but I've seen young quarterbacks have to go through a carousel of coaches and coordinators, and if it works with Lynn and they make the playoffs, then that's fine. But if they finish mediocre this year and don't make the playoffs, I can see that.
That's the thing, though. I don't think they're making the playoffs. I think they're going to finish mediocre. You can't keep losing these brutal games like they've been losing.
I agree. You have to win those games eventually. So,
and I put that a lot on the coach, man. You gotta.
Yeah.
The thing I'll say about Doug, I don't love his play calling, but this team will never give up. We will go 0-8 start a season, but you know what? They could fight back and go 8-8, win the division. They don't give up. And who else was it? There was. And different sport, but Mike Malone, you got to have tons of respect for. That Nuggets run that's not an easy thing to get your team to keep fighting like they were fighting.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in a bubble, like when they really don't want to probably be there in the first place. I mean, you're fighting for a championship, but this is not an ideal situation. And he got them to do it twice, to come back 3-0. That's hard to do. As a coach, you need to get your players to believe in it, that they can actually do it. And then you got to try put your players in the best position to make it happen. And Anthony Lynn is just not – I've never really been impressed with him. I mean, I'll give him a pass because I thought Philip Rivers was god-awful the last 2 years. So I think that really hindered him. But I think this is a real time where the Chargers look in the mirror and realize, all right, we got a franchise quarterback. This is the moment. Because back to what you're saying, you don't want him to have another year with Lynn, this coordinator, and then you still be the same that you were this year and then fire him after the year. And now you got to start anew with Herbert on his third year. If you want to bring in a new staff, I do it this offseason. And some of the moves they've made is just their offensive line sucks. They're going to get Herbert killed.
Yeah.
Like the defense has been pretty brutal. I know Derwin. It's like the Derwin James gets hurt and the defense is just atrocious. But still, something to look at. He's gonna be the coaching job that I'm most interested in offseason. See what they do because I do think they're gonna finish on a positive note with Herbert, regardless of how the season goes.
Yeah. Speaking of Herbert, just to recap real quick, and then we'll get into your studs and duds. So we did our midseason awards, who we think would win some of the player honors, whatever you want to call it. So we had Russell Wilson winning MVP. Still looks that way. Myles Garrett, Defensive Player of the Year. TJ Watt and Aaron Donald were also considered. Kamara for Offensive Player of the Year. Justin Herbert for Rookie of the Year. Tim gave a very compelling argument for Herbert over Burrow, so I'll give him that.
When do I not make a compelling argument?
Patrick Queen for Defensive Player of the Year, the Ravens linebacker. And then Stefanski with the Browns, we were just kind of thinking Coach of the Year because, that franchise has been through so much turmoil and they finally have a winning record. Things finally look like they're getting better. So
that's it, especially after last year, the train wreck that they were.
Yeah.
In the last 20 years, if you want to put it that way.
But so what we got for let's do the studs first. Let's keep it positive.
Studs? All right, you're in a good mood. I like that. Oh, it must be the mustache.
Must be.
All righty. So, third stud this week. He is, in all rights, a superstar. He's been on the studs list before.
Okay.
His team just went out there and absolutely dominated. The team they were playing wasn't really, stiff competition, let's put it that way, with the team they fielded. They were missing quite a number of players. But the fact that, he just went out there and put up a stat line that's ridiculous, you can't ignore it. 10 receptions, having 173 yards, and a touchdown. He has continued to be just an all-around dominant superstar and the most important weapon. You could pretty much make an argument he's the most important offensive weapon to his team and out of any team in the league. Because after him, it's a steep drop-off. So what he does on an every night basis is just incredible. He's got a connection that, I mean, man, I wish that Rodgers and Vontae Adams would sponsor my cell phone plan because then I would never lose coverage or signal. They are just always on, man. They know what they're doing with each other no matter what. It's like
that'll be the clip. That'll be the trailer ad.
Marvin Harrison and Peyton Manning, I think, had the best chemistry I can remember ever seeing. Like, they just knew where they were going to be. Russell Wilson with Lockett's getting there, too, because they just have a different –
And DK, too.
Well, yeah, now you're getting there. Him and just any of his wide receivers. But
yeah,
when it comes to Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers, if Aaron Rodgers makes the decision that I'm putting this ball in Devontae Adams' hand and he's catching it pre-snap, it's probably going to happen. I don't think anyone can really stop it. They're just dominating. Where Michael Thomas and Drew Brees have that same play and they get ripped because they just run a 5-yard slant all the time, 100,000 times. Adams does everything, man. You do a quick slant, I do not want to tackle him. His yards at the catch is terrific. He's a great deep ball threat. He just gets the ball. So third stud this week after absolutely dominating on the Niners, Devontae Adams. Balled out of his mind. He's been doing it all season. I believe he said
he's the best receiver in the league right now. So
listen. You have my vote.
Yeah.
He was the leader for reception touchdowns as of Thursday night. I don't know if that changed with the Sunday night games. I'm a little unprepared there, so I apologize. But 8 touchdowns on the year. You just mentioned Kamara's our offensive player of the year, and I'm fine with that. But Devontae Adams is in that conversation.
Oh, he's making
in this
case, yeah.
Conversation. He's just absolutely incredible. The year he's having is amazing. He's got 675 yards, 8 touchdowns on the season. You're looking at a 1,316 touchdown year with 106 receptions right now. He's on pace for. He's just absolutely dominating, and it's amazing because he does it double covered and being that one option that you have to stop if you want any chance of winning. And he can't.
Checking right now. He is tied for second behind. Well, him and DK have 8, and then Tyreek Hill has 9 touchdowns.
Okay, Tyreek Hill, he had 2 touchdowns on Sunday, so yeah, I was a little off. But
Adams
he was actually
7.
To be fair, one of my honorable mentions were all wide receivers. It was Tyreek Hill, AJ Brown, but there was one more, and I'm blanking on it. Damn. But yeah, they were the honorable mentions that didn't make the list, but they came very close. But you look at 173, 10 receptions and a touchdown, and I couldn't justify taking that off the list. So
fair enough.
On to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
That we've already kind of spoke about a little already. I think it's his best game I've seen from this season, maybe his career. 3 touchdowns, went up for 415 yards. And now this, you would say 415 yards and 3 touchdowns, that's eye-popping. But now this is the stat that makes my eyes just pop out of my skull, considering who it is. 31 out of 38. Now that is pretty nice. You have 7 incompletions out of 38 targets. That's a hell of a stat line.
Mm-hmm.
He did throw in a rushing touchdown and 14 rushing yards just for fun. Ended with 4 touchdowns on the game.
Nice.
Against a very, very good opponent he played this week. And a game that we said put that team in the elite upper echelon of that conference. So we're going to go with Josh Allen for stud number 2 this week. He
well-deserved.
He took 7 sacks, which is unfortunate, but, he's a mobile guy. He's a big guy. I think he takes some of those because he knows he might be able to break out of them and make something into nothing. So
yeah,
that was the only thing that you could probably get on him on. But the guy was accurate. The guy threw that was the first touchdown he threw was the best football I've ever seen Josh Allen throw in the NFL. It was beautiful. It was exactly everything that people rip him on for not being accurate or having no deep ball. It wasn't the deepest pass, but it was right there over the shoulder, nice. But to do it accurately like he did. Impressive. This was a great game for Josh Allen. We talked about how the Seahawks defense sucks, but this game was such a big game for him, and he ended up winning.
Can't argue with that.
And that's what he did. That's a game that he can be very proud about, and if I was Buffalo, I'd be very excited for what the season holds after seeing that. So he's stud number 2.
And numero uno?
The numero uno, for the first time ever, we are going to go with a back-to-back number 1 stud. And
back-to-back. Yeah, this was the guy I was going to mention.
He is.
But I didn't want to steal your thunder. I
appreciate that. I appreciate
prepare
that.
for this. This is his moment. I'm going to let him have it.
I steal a lot of your moments, so I appreciate you letting me have this.
Yeah.
I'll give him my quick little breakdown, and then I'll let you go from there. First off, let's just start with the 200 yards. That's just 206 yards on 22 carries. Are you kidding me?
Oh, that's just the rushing, though.
Oh, I know. That's a 9.4 average. He was basically running for a first down every time he touched the ball.
Yep.
To your point, let's throw in his extra 46 yards. His 2 total touchdowns, or 2 rushing touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Man went for 252 scrimmage yards. Just absolutely ridiculous. After the 4 touchdowns he puts up last week, I'd say right now, we talked about this, I want to say week 3, week 4, I don't remember what podcast it was. The Vikings were looking pretty rough, and I said they were going to miss Stefanski because Stefanski knew how to work with Kirk Cousins. Basically, just give the Dalvin Cook the ball, run the offense through Cook, and then let Cousins feed off that. Cousins is not a quarterback that can run the offense. Dalvin Cook is just what we've been talking about with Alvin Kamara. Dalvin Cook runs that offense, and Kirk Cousins feeds off of what Dalvin Cook is able to give him. He is unstoppable. He is scrimmage yards galore between the passing game and the rushing game. He is incredibly impressive. I'm assuming the Vikings coaches listen to me.
They must be listening to you.
Cousins work off that because it's worked pretty well for them. They're now 3-5, and you know what? They keep this up. They look good. They keep this up. They could easily fight their way into a wild card spot. But yeah, that's my first start of the week. I know you have more to get on him, so I'll let you hop on and tell us something we like to hear.
I mean, I didn't have too much. I was just going to say, you know, like you said, basically 250 yards from scrimmage, 2 touchdowns in week 9. But the week before that, 220 scrimmage yards, you know, and he was hurt. I think he was out for like a game or 2. Now leads the league in rushing with like 800 yards already. Like
he has 6 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? He's 500 yards or close to it in the last 2 weeks.
Him and Kamara are right there for – I mean, I would probably put Cook ahead right now. Best running back in the league so far this year, by far.
Yeah, that's fine. Listen, and you mentioned the injury. This is the thing with the running backs, and they like why they're worth their value. Mm-hmm. And I think you were one of the people that need to be enlightened. We'll put it that way. Who were saying, "Oh, Alexander Madison's a very good runner. He'll be fine. He's going to do well." You know, when Cook was hurt,
I never said that.
Yeah, you know, I think you were pretty optimistic about Madison going out there. Let's put it that way.
I don't know about that.
Where I looked at the Vikings offense and thought, wow, they need Dalvin Cook to be the lead of this offense because their offense can't do anything without him. I think, listen, Dalvin Cook is just setting the bar. Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara, who both signed extensions this offseason, are just setting the bar for running backs. The running back agents are just drooling every game that the Vikings and Saints play this year.
Yep.
They're worth the money, and it shows. Look what happened when Madison was playing for Cook. It's not the same.
I agree. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he was the number 1 stud again next week. So
I wouldn't be surprised if it makes me pick him over Kamara for Offensive Player of the Year.
Actually, I don't even know. I think the Vikings might have a bye, but he could still be on there. Maybe he in practice he gets like 500 rushing yards. You know.
Yeah, do what you got to do, right?
So who are the 3 duds? We don't have to go into as much monologue, but who we got?
Well, see, I actually did prepare a monologue for this one, so
of course you did.
So this duds was actually fun. I'll put it out there now. All 3 of them are quarterbacks. All 3 quarterbacks that have a combined 23 Pro Bowls between the 3 of them.
Wow.
One of them is a first overall pick in the draft. You have 7 Super Bowls mixed in with the 3 of them.
I think one of those guys probably has most of them, but
relax. I'll let you have your time. But yeah, so this duds was a little different than normal. I'm not going to lie. The first one I come out with is kind of weak, but I will strengthen up on the next 2. Okay. So the first dud the third dud of the week might be a little tough because he did come in injury relief. But considering he went against one of the worst defenses in the league and one of the worst defenses in a while, I'm not going to be as nice. He threw 3 interceptions, 2 of them in the opposing team's territory, which were just brutal to the overall game success. It's 24 for 32. He did put up 325 yards, but most of that was just driving down the field and then throwing an interception and ruining the drive. He had 1 touchdown for the game, but he came in for injury relief after a gruesome injury to the starting quarterback. So he did come in a little unprepared. He wasn't hardly world beater. In a game that you really – I know it's kind of sad, but if they did win that and they went 3 and very much in the contention for first place in the division, especially since they already beat us, So I just really disappointed because you think when Alex Smith comes in the bench, like he's a veteran quarterback. The reason you still have him is because you have all these young guys as a veteran that can teach them the way, go in there and help you when you need them. And in a game they should have and could have won, he just completely let them down. Came in and gave them absolutely nothing. So for the third stud this week, we're going with Alex Smith.
I mean, it is. Yeah, it is a little weak. I mean, he wasn't even the starter, and he was thrown in there. But
so let's put it this way: I'll word that differently. He wasn't the starter, but still managed to throw 3 interceptions. The Giants are hardly a team that, quarterback that's been around for as long as Alex Smith is should be struggling that much. I know he came off the bench, but at the same time, it's the Giants, and it was a game they really need to win. He looked awful out there too. He didn't look good. The team didn't look good in general, but I know it's a little weak, but he didn't do good. In the limited time he had, he managed to put up a real stinker.
So he has, to my knowledge, 0 Super Bowls. So
that is true. Yes, good. I'm glad you were following along.
Yeah. So we got two left, who equals 7. I'm gonna take a guess. One of them has 6.
Maybe. Okay. Ruin the surprise. Do you give out spoilers before each movie you tend to?
Yeah, I'll just say that, hey, someone's going to die. I mean, that's about as much as I gave away there.
All right. So since you were eagerly giving away spoilers, I'll get to it. Second dud this week.
Mm-hmm.
He is a former Super Bowl champion, so your math was right. Okay. Actually funny because he was probably everyone's, first choice for MVP this year. Managed to put up in a very unlike him game 4 turnovers for 2 picks and fumbled twice. He's 28 of 41 on his passes. Normally a very accurate quarterback, not something he's used to.
Yeah.
Managed 2 touchdowns. They were in garbage time. This was not a very close game. This was not a close game at all. The score was closer than this actual game was. He put up 390 yards, but again, garbage time. His team was down by 3 touchdowns by the fourth quarter. They really never looked like they were in the game to win. Tough game too, because that was a game that all the glory we gave to Josh Allen for winning that is what you wanted to say about Russell Wilson and the Seahawks, but they just went out and laid an egg in a big game, and they just laid an egg, and he was a big part of it. And the Bills, we mentioned the Bills defense was hardly world beaters before they played this game, but this was a get-right game for them. It came against the top 5 offense in the league, which is surprising. But, man, Russell really, really dropped the ball. The turnovers were brutal. They were never going to win with 4 turnovers. Your quarterback can't have 4 turnovers. Yeah. He took 5 sacks. They were all over him. So, yeah, the second dud this week is Russell Wilson.
Yeah, every great quarterback has, and I'm sure you'll get to this with the next guy, has a bad game. So I'm not worried about him. I think he'll still probably, as long as he rebounds, he'll still be up for MVP. Yeah, Seahawks will still make playoffs, so it's nothing to worry about.
Listen, the garbage time stats actually probably keep him on the MVP candidacy, track, because his numbers still went up. He still nearly had 400 yards and put up the 2 more pass touchdowns. Yeah, but man, the Seahawks couldn't run the ball at all. They couldn't do it.
Once they get Chris Carson back, they'll start getting that better off. But
it's true. But listen, Russell was a big problem of that game, and it showed. So, but again, I agree with what you said. I think it's more of a bounce back, so I think he'll be okay.
Yeah.
Number 1 dud, and when this one played out in front of my eyes, this was an easy decision without even watching any other football games. If I had the moment to put him at number 1 dud, I was jumping on all over it. One has been just glorified for decades now. We can say he's been literally glorified for decades. I've heard nothing but just he's the greatest this, greatest that. Oh, I keep winning. My hand's heavy with all these rings around my fingers. I have more awards than Hall of Fames do. Oh, I'm just so great. Mr. Thomas, I don't know his middle name, don't care enough to know, loser Brady. 22 for 38, not his most accurate game. 209. See, this is where Russell gets the second dud because he was managed to pad his stats in garbage time. Tom Brady was so awful he couldn't even pad his stats in garbage time in this game. And trust me, there was plenty of garbage time to go around. 209 yards, 3 interceptions, and that is, what is that again? 0 touchdowns. A disgusting performance on his part. His own coach called him out for the second time this year about how his star wide receiver was open many times and his star quarterback just couldn't get him the ball. We talked about this in length over the offseason. I was curious to see how it played out. I still don't see it. I didn't think the Arians and Brady thing was going to work out that well. Frankly, I don't think Brady wants to hold the ball on as long as it takes Mike Evans to get open in Bruce Arians' offense. Brady has been, in my eyes, I know the team's doing well, and he's had a couple good games there. He's been a disappointment this season. This is the second game
he's been very hot and cold.
But you know what? He's cold in the wrong games because this is the second game he's looked rough against the Saints. And that is the team that's not going away. I don't see how they can win the division after you've dropped 2 to the Saints. But you know what? If you want to get far in the playoffs, you best believe you're going to run into the Saints again.
I thought they were a wild card team anyways, but
I agree. No, I still thought the Saints were going to win the division. But, man, he looked awful. The whole team looked awful. The defense looked awful. The offense looked awful. Everyone looked awful.
Yeah, they just didn't look prepared.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. That was a game you got to get up for, and he didn't. The team didn't. Really brutal, and especially because they lost. They were down by a lot quick. Like, it didn't take long for them to start losing by a lot. I think you mentioned, it was 24-0.5 or whatever it was?
I think it was 28. 28 or
28?
Something like that, yeah.
That's where, you know what, when you're down 20 or 17 in the first half, your quarterback, and listen, I've seen him do it 1,000 times, needs to stop the bleeding. Best way to stop the bleeding when you're losing is a defensive turnover, or your quarterback just takes the ball and just does his thing. Whether that be a long drive that keeps that defense out there and tires them out and maybe helps that down the load and gets you a win and gets some momentum going, or big play and you go out there, score quickly, and try to do it again. He just couldn't do anything. He couldn't hold the ball. He couldn't score. He couldn't be explosive. Team looked awful. I start with him. He looked bad. It's a game I'd worry about. Where Russell Wilson, I have zero worries about how he looked going forward. I'd be worried about that one because, listen, this is a couple now against good teams, and he's just laying eggs. Doesn't look like the same quarterback. The system, I still don't see the fit. I think eventually Tom Brady's going to clap back if he keeps hearing Bruce Arians keep mentioning his name in the post conference too. I don't think that's going to go. That's going to fly forever.
That's the Bruce Arians Temple tough mentality.
Listen, Bruce. Here's the thing: you might be the head coach, but if Tom says he's tired of you calling him out in the media, you best believe this is Tom's team.
Yeah.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers haven't been relevant in a very long time, and they managed to get the greatest football player ever to come to their city, and everyone else decided to join them after. How many free agents have joined that team since? You have McCoy, Fournette, Burn Brown. He is running that team. I was surprised Arians called him out again after he already did, but I'm interested to see what happens between those two because if they don't start clicking, these call-outs are going to –
That's his style. That's how he coaches. But, yeah.
You think Tom Brady wants to get called out? I don't think so.
No.
I don't think that's something he's interested in.
No. I agree with that assessment. That was a very lengthy speech, but I think you made a good point.
Listen, Tom Brady was my dud of the week, my number one dud this week. I don't think there's ever been a week in the last 20 years where that could have been happened.
Yeah. Well, moving on, because of those games, because of Tom Brady's lackluster performance, we've got quite the large adjustments in our power rankings. So we'll start off at the back end. So number 10, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm still mispronouncing that name. They played well again, beat the Chargers last second end of the game, stopped their touchdown.
You know what? That was a hell of a sequence then the game.
Yeah.
I don't know how Mike Williams doesn't catch that ball. I've seen him catch that ball 1,000 times.
Yeah.
He's arguably the best go up and get it wide receiver in the NFL.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how that didn't come down with him. And then, then he got hurt, which is tough. But they gave you the 1 second. I was like, you know what? They're gonna have a second. Maybe they still do this. And it's a shame because they ran the same exact play. Where if you gave Mike Williams a second try at that, I feel very confident. But even the other guy had a very good chance. So tough, but great ending.
Yeah.
As you were saying.
Yeah, Gruden's got them playing well. Number 9 is where we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers sliding back. They were number 4 last week, sliding all the way back to 9 with that brutal performance against, like you said, a game. It wasn't a must-win, but it was a needed win.
No, because you lost them already.
Yeah. Number 8, the Titans. They're like a weird team. They're good enough to win games, and they're a strong team. They'll be in the playoffs. So. 7, we have the Seahawks dropping back from number 3 to 7. like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if in 2 weeks they're back at number 3 or whatever, because it's
Yeah.
just that defense. Once that defense starts, playing better, they can take some of the weight off Russ's shoulders. But so Hawks at 7, number 6 we got the Packers. Rodgers and Adams still cooking, like you said, and their defense is good enough right now. So I think they're in a good spot there. Number 5, we have the Saints jumping up from 10 last week. Like we said, they dominated the Bucks, made Brady look like a rookie.
Yeah.
So now that they're healthy, they'll probably continue to trend upwards. Number 4, we have the Bills. After that shellacking of the Seahawks, they're strong. When they play all phases to their potential, they're a good team.
Yeah.
Number 3, we have the Ravens. Number 2, we have Pittsburgh sliding down 1, even though they're undefeated. But at number 1, we have the Chiefs, who we think is still the best team in the league, still the number 1 contender for the Super Bowl. So we had to put them at number 1.
Yeah. They're I mean, just watching them, they look like the best team in football.
Yeah. All right, and then so let's look at let me pull it up real quick. Get our game picks from last week. You went a lovely 9-5. I feel like that's standard for you. Seth, our guest, he went 10-4. It's very respectable, better than you, of course.
I hate you.
And then I went fantastic 12-2. My only blemishes being the Seahawks and the Cardinals. So that puts me at 97-37.
Wait a minute. You picked the Cardinals?
Yeah.
So you started the beginning episode talking about how we gave you crap for taking so long to think, and you didn't even pick the team that won?
No, you can go back and listen. I said you guys were giving me crap because I was taking so long because I wanted to pick the Dolphins. But then you guys were like, oh, it's an easy pick. You take the Cardinals. And I was like, okay, yeah, Cardinals.
Okay. No, I just –
So I could have had
I don't know. The way you were talking about it in the beginning, it just made me seem like, wow, this genius who knows football so well must have known something that I didn't know beforehand to have picked the Dolphins. But
yeah.
Then again.
So I'm 97-37. After this next week coming up, I will finally eclipse the 100. That's pretty cool.
Well, you're talking a little premature, aren't you?
If I go that bad, then yeah, you have a chance. But you have 83 correct guesses to 51 losses. I must say though, we are head and what's the phrase? Head and shoulders. Head and shoulders better than a lot of analysts, professional people who get paid to pick games. So listen to us if you want to know who to pick and who to bet on.
Look, I saved the Vikings season, so picks are probably on point.
So this week we're gonna keep doing guest picks, whether they're on the show or not. This week we had Nick picked his games, so we'll go through it. So starting off, Thursday night game is the Colts at the Titans. Nick took the Titans, and this is kind of tough. I want to take the Colts, but I think I'm also going to go with the Titans here.
I'm going with the Titans too. The Colts can't score.
Yeah, you just don't like Phil Rivers.
Well, that's part of the reason why they can't score.
Then we have Tampa Bay at Carolina. Tim picked the Bucks to rebound, and I agree with that. I'll take the Bucks too. Is this going to happen?
I'll take the Panthers. The Panthers have looked good, and now McCaffrey's back. I like that offense. I could see a shootout like with the Chiefs, because they played the Chiefs well. Their defense sucks, but I think they could score points with the Bucks. And I see some issues arising with the Bucks. I don't know if Tom Brady's the young chicken we were hoping, especially in this system. And
it was one game. I'm not.
No. This was not one game. This is just the one game in a couple weeks now. He's been hot, so people have forgotten. He's not looked great all these games this season. So, you know what? I need to spice it up. I need to catch up ground. So, give me the Panthers.
You say you have to catch up ground all the time, and yet here you are still behind.
because it's not clearly working. So I'm still trying to catch up ground.
All right, so you're taking the Panthers.
Yeah, spice it up.
All right, interesting. Then we have Houston at Cleveland. Nick took the Browns. Who are you feeling?
Yeah, I'll take the Browns too.
I agree.
The Texans won, but they didn't look great.
I mean,
against the
unless
Jaguars.
Baker still has COVID, then I'll take the Texans, but they should be fine.
That Jake Luton guy actually had a pretty solid game against the Texans. So
Washington at Detroit. Nick took the Lions. I'm going to take the Lions too.
you know what? I mean, I got on Alex Smith mostly because I still think he was the best quarterback option in Washington. So I expected more when he came in that game.
Mm-hmm.
I think he starts this game. That defense still looks strong. I think he starts this game and actually does something. So I'll take Alex Smith.
Okay. Respectful. Then we have Jacksonville at Green Bay. Yeah, I'm going to take the Packers.
Green Bay. Yeah, we'll put too much thought in that.
Nick also took the Packers, surprisingly. Got our final 1:00 game, the Eagles at the Giants. Honestly, if they come off a bye and they lose to New York, there's going to be some problems. So I'd take the Eagles to win this. Hopefully they dominate because they need a game where they just blow somebody out to really get that whole team feeling good.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, or maybe I said someone else, but coming off a bye, you beat the Cowboys your last game Sunday night, you're in first place. The Giants can get you to 500. This could be a big swing in the season. I know your schedule gets extremely tough after this, so
yeah,
this is where you need to pick up some momentum, and I think going to 500 will be a big part of that. So I will also be taking the Eagles.
So did Nick. After that, we have the Chargers at the Dolphins. Ooh, Herbert versus Tua. That's a game I kind of want to watch.
Really? I'll be all in on that one, actually.
Yeah, Nick took the Herbert and the Chargers to win that.
I mean, after all the conversation we just had about this, for all the reasons I've already mentioned, like the fact that the Chargers can't close out a game and Flores has the Dolphins playing really well, I look at two different ways. Like, main thing I was already talking about. Anthony Lynn can't get his team to finish out a game. Flores has his team fighting in games that they should never even be a part of. So I'll take the Dolphins.
All right. Since I was going to take whatever one you didn't because I'm pretty much the coin flip at this point. So I'll take the Chargers.
Feel that.
Nick took the Chargers. And then the next game we have is Buffalo at Arizona. So that's tough for Arizona because they need to win this game to keep pace in their division, at least for the wild card. Nick took the Cardinals.
The Cardinals are very similar to the Seahawks in the point where their defense sucks, but their offense can light you up, and they have a mobile quarterback.
Yeah,
I would assume they run a very similar game plan as they just ran against the Seahawks, and it worked very well. So I think they'll be fine. So I'm going to take the Bills.
I'll take the Cardinals. I think they have to win this game.
Fair enough. I mean, you have to, but that doesn't mean you're going to.
True. Next, we have Denver at the Raiders. Nick took the Broncos, but I'm riding the Raider train.
I'm taking the Raiders, too. The only reason Nick took the Broncos is because he likes the Broncos.
Yeah.
They're awful.
No, I mean, I could see them losing, though. Like, they're not super consistent at this point. But
I mean, it's a divisional game, but the Broncos suck.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. Is this where Pittsburgh's winning streak ends?
No, this is a get-right game. I'm giving the Steelers.
I'm also taking Pittsburgh, and Nick took Pittsburgh as well. Then we have the Niners, who are just ravaged with injuries, at the New Orleans Saints, who are now cooking pretty well. So I'm going to take the Saints. Nick took the Saints.
Yeah, give me the Saints.
And Tim's going to take the Saints. We have the Seahawks at the Rams. Bounce back game for Seattle. And the Rams have been such I've said many times on this that I thought at one point they were the most balanced team between, offense and defense, but I don't know. They haven't really impressed me. I know they were on a bye last week, but I haven't really been impressed with them after the last
That's
few
true.
weeks.
I mean,
So I'll take Seattle.
you say a lot of foolish things anyway. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I'll take Seattle as well. I do think this is going to be a get back game. Like I said, with when Nova's doing duds, I have zero doubt that Russell Wilson rebounds from this.
Yeah. Nick took Seattle, and then our Sunday night game, Baltimore, New England. You know, deep down, I really would take New England, but that defense just isn't very good, and they're missing pieces because of COVID opt-outs. And even though we mentioned some of the offensive struggles for Baltimore, I still think they get it done. So I'll take the Ravens.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I mean, the Patriots aren't a very great team, but they still have a pretty solid secondary. I think it's the best thing on their team. So I have no faith in Lamar Jackson passing the ball. I think that's going to be an issue. But that's one thing we didn't mention. Could you imagine if the Jets beat the Patriots on Monday Night Football?
They almost did.
That would have been a doozy. But yeah, I'll take the Ravens.
And then our Monday night game is the Minnesota Vikings at Chicago Bears. Nick took the Bears. I'm going to ride the Cook train, take the Vikings, because that whole team's playing better ever since he started going off. Like, their defense.
I mean, I'm sorry, wait, can you correct yourself so you're not lying to the people? Ever since I told the coaches how to run their offense.
Right, ever since Tim stepped in and said, guys, look.
Yes.
Got to run the ball.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I mean, my guy Cook, back-to-back number one studs the first time ever. I'm not going to top off his train now. Plus, geez, man, when you talk about bad offenses, the Bears might have the worst offensive line in football, and there's some bad teams out there that make that difficult. There's really not much going. They can't run the ball. Nick Foles gets killed. They have good defense, but that offense is a train wreck. Nagy's play calling sucks too. He's gone at the end of the year too.
I agree. Yeah, so that's our picks for the week. Thank you to Nick for joining in. If you would like to take part in our picks or you have opinions on it, comment on our Instagram, Twitter, DM us, whatever. Any final thoughts coming up to week 10 now? Jeez, going by quick.
Not much. Oh, well, one scary thought, but seeing more and more COVID pop up.
Yeah, especially with the winter coming.
That one's got me worried about how this. I know. Listen, I have full faith in the NFL. Will just plow through anything. I don't think they can.
Oh, they don't give.
They made the Niners play on Thursday Night Football without half their offense.
Yeah.
But it is worrisome. You're seeing more and more of it, especially in the colder months.
Well, they said if games get canceled, that they'll end up extending the playoffs to more teams. So
they have to, or just push it back a couple weeks so you have makeup games.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting to see.
It's going to get down to the nitty gritty, and it will affect the season going forward. I mean, look at college now.
Yeah.
All right. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, looking forward to hopefully an Eagles victory, some good games. Really want to watch Tua and Herbert. That'll be cool. So
that will be a game, yeah. That's a 4:00 game?
Yes.
But who's the game of the week for the 4:00?
I don't know. I mean, the Chargers always play at 4:00. I feel like, but
you know what? I'd probably say it's either Niners and Saints or Seahawks and Rams.
That would be a CBS game.
Well, it would. Charged out. Yeah, no, it's not going to be. It's either the Seahawks and Rams or 49ers Saints for the game of the week. There's a lot of 4:00 games. They have 6 of them this week.
Yeah, I think it's just because of the West Coast stuff.
There's more 4:00 games than there are 1:00 games this week.
No, there's not.
I'm looking at it right now. 5 1:00, 6 4:00.
Oh, shit, you're right.
Most of the things I say are right.
Shut up. Buffalo, Arizona, and LA, Seattle are the only games that I could see being primetime besides Chargers, Dolphins.
No,
I mean, I'm going to guess.
The 49ers Saints could be.
Yeah, I'm going to guess they didn't have Chargers in Miami penciled in before the season as a primetime. So
yeah, I'm saying it's either Seahawks and Rams or 49ers and Saints.
Yeah. But
either way, I'll keep an eye on everyone's in. So.
All right.
Well, pleasure as always. So I'll talk to you.
All right. Peace out, bro.